It's not a side hustle. In the past, there were a lot of videos where anyone could just bring a few $1,000s, find a product, and start an Amazon business. And probably that worked for almost 20 to 30% at that time. I think today it's less than 0.5% that works for. So you really need to understand that when you're going into this business, you have to have the right amount of capital, plan it right, and also invest the time, take it seriously. It's starting a huge business. It's not a side hustle.
Hello, I'm your host, John Cavendish, and welcome to Season 3 of the Amazon Strategy Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets, and no magic pills, just real practical strategies for serious Amazon sellers. So, our guest today has over a decade of experience in e-commerce. He has mastered supply chain optimization and digital marketplace strategies and understands truly that impactful funding solutions do more than provide capital. They integrate into your supply chain and maximize overall efficiency. As founder of 3PL Winner and co-founder of CapEc, he brings a unique perspective on the intersection of logistics, e-commerce, and financial solutions. So today, none other than Nadav. Welcome, Nadav.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. It's great being here.
Oh, thank you for being here. And also, I remember from a previous conversation when we were hanging out in one of the Amazon conferences, you were sharing about, you also founded one of the largest cloud computing companies in Israel.
Yeah, John, it was Prosper. We met there a few years straight. Yeah, in Israel, I was the first one to create cloud computing even in 2007, before there was even Amazon Cloud Services, and sold that company in 2015. Been an entrepreneur most of my life, and since I sold that company, I've gone into e-commerce, created my own brand, grew probably 7 different brands. Still have 4 of them today, all 7 figures. So very active in the space, always up to date, what's happening, and enjoy this space since I've been in it almost for 10 years now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it was Prosper Show. Sorry, when I was trying to kick my mind to tell me what it was, my brain
Too many
stopped
drinks
working.
at night.
I wish it was too many drinks at night, but sadly I'm in Italy at the moment. No drinks at night. In solidarity, me and my wife aren't drinking for the moment. So, welcome to the show. I thought we could kind of dive into, because you're so knowledgeable in both selling, funding, and logistics. Can you tell us a little bit about your story of how you, once you sold your other company, got into the Amazon space?
Yeah, so when I sold it, I was looking to do something new. A friend of mine said, hey, I just did this Amazon course. It's pretty cool. Tried it out just like everyone. Did a course online, found my first product, brought it over, and it was amazed how fast it started selling. I brought 3,000 units. It was right about a month before Cyber Monday, Black Friday, and before Cyber Monday, I had almost 2,000. Before Black Friday, on Black Friday, I sold almost 800 that night, and then Cyber Monday, all the rest were gone. So I understood the power of 400 million consumers in Amazon.com, and I think I fell in love in that moment. And since then, continued to grow, bring a lot of products. I learned a lot along the way. Unfortunately, a lot you learn from your mistakes. Very hard experiences that also cost a lot of money. And then after running my own brand, Amazon changed their IPI. They started that IPI in 2017. And that's when I started the 3PL, because everybody needed a 3PL. You couldn't have too much storage in Amazon anymore. And so, it started 2018. We started the 3PL at 2019-20, and that's in San Diego, 200,000 square feet. We have hundreds of customers. And later on, talking to sellers all the time, every time I met with them, in many, many cases, they'd ask me to invest in their business. In most cases, the reason for that investment was to bring inventory, to be able to get more revenue, to be able to sell more product. And I did a few of those investments, but in any time you invest your private money, you want equity for that risk. And And that's what happened. And then a lot of times these very good brands that are growing great and it's a great seller have to give up equity to get just to get financing for growth. And this is, I felt, a huge space that was missing a solution. Our e-commerce space is very unique. It requires a lot of different type of financing. Also, where most sellers are located somewhere around the world, or they don't have an office. It's not like brick and mortar businesses. They might work with virtual bank accounts like Payoneer and Wise. So they don't have any conventional financing solutions in 99% of the cases. And that's why they needed a different product. And in the space, there's a lot of new companies that have started doing this, but they're mostly based on revenue finances. These are MCAs that came from the MCA space. And I felt that also that product doesn't really help our sellers, doesn't really help our business. It's not what we need or we're looking for. At the end of the day, 80 to 90% of our inventory, of our capital as a business in e-commerce is tied up in inventory. So that's where we need our financing in the inventory, and the financing really has to match the cash flow and the ROI from the investment in inventory. And that's where I think the most important thing, and that's our unique proposition, is that we really connect directly to the cash flow. So we pay the manufacturers when they need to be paid, the shipper when they need to be paid. So you have no worries that they'll be paid on time. And also if a manufacturing takes longer, it doesn't affect the financing in any way. It basically only starts when the product's ready and needs to be shipped out. And then we build the return on the repayments to match exactly the sales rate of the product. So you don't have to worry about having to pay anything back before you actually sold your product. So that's really getting full ROI and connecting your cash flow to your real ROI. And as soon as you're able to connect 80 to 90% of your cash flow to your real ROI, it automatically straightens out your cash flow, makes your business a lot more steady and sturdy and strong, and you can concentrate on marketing and the positive things in your business.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I love that you're paying directly and also securing the money against the inventory. What kind of categories or what kind of metrics does a seller need to meet to be able to use your service?
So we partner with our sellers. We're not just a finance company. We take our best practices also in logistics and everything that we know to bring to the table. So we're looking at the actual product success. We're looking at the product history, the store sales, meaning the seller needs to be selling for at least a year. The product should be selling for at least 6 months of history. We're looking to bring the financing for growth. I mean, to launch a new product, you need even tens of thousands of dollars. It's relatively not a lot that someone, and it's a riskier situation to finance. But as soon as you brought your product and it's starting to sell, you're bringing your third or fourth batch now, and you have to bring times 3, times 4 the amount of inventory. That's where we come in. We partner with you on that inventory, and we check everything on the product. That's the main difference about us. We check the profitability, we check the competition, we check the categories, we check your supply chain, we check post-production inspection of the product. I mean, we know in any given time also where every unit is located in the world, and the only collateral we take is that inventory, because that's why it's so important that we check it all. So working with us, you're also getting a partner that is bringing his experience. The audit that we basically do on your store and on your product is also a great thing and can give you a lot of feedback. Even if you're not able to get financing from us, we'll explain why. And in most cases is you're still too small or your product is just starting off. We'll tell you to come back in a few months when you have a little more sales, and then we can start growing with you more. As you mentioned, only the inventory is our collateral, so we don't take any personal guarantees. We don't run any credit checks on the people or the business, and therefore we're able to give financing very fast and to make decisions very fast. And as partners, we can finance up to 75% of a PO. So basically, we're taking most of the risk on that inventory. So if anything happens along the way, hopefully it doesn't. But if something does, a listing gets closed, or we see that your advertising is really bad and you're losing money on your product now, then in most cases we'll come and we'll step in and try to help you to improve that, because if you can't sell your product with profits, most likely we're not going to get our money back. So we're more than just someone who's giving you money and then taking collaterals, your house or your car or stuff like that. We're a partner on that inventory, just like an investor would be, but without the equity upkeep. So you can keep all your equity, even though we're taking most of the risk.
Oh, I love that. That's really, really cool. So in terms of supply chain auditing, so when somebody wants to sign up, wants to borrow money, they go to your site and they fill in a form. And how do you get involved in auditing their supply chain?
Yeah, so they fill in an application form. They connect their store through API through our application. And then we run all the data analytics on the products that are in the PO that customer wants to purchase. And then we'll come back and we'll give an organized offer for that PO. So in some cases, even in the PO, there might be a relatively new product, so we're not financing that one, or there might be a product that has bad profitability or losing money, so we might not finance or finance that at a lower rate, maybe 40% or 30%. But all your main products, in most cases, will finance up to 75%. So we'll give you that offer. It's very straightforward. We're gonna finance this amount of the PO. You're gonna pay your supplier if we're financing 70% and you put 30% deposit, then you already put it down. We'll pay the 70% when the product's ready, and then we'll pay the shipping also when that needs to be paid, and the repayments will also, when we do the auditing, we check what's the average sales rate of your product, and we built the repayment plan already in a schedule to match that sales rate, so you won't have any cash flow restraints. We even give a grace period for the time it's being shipped. We basically start calculating the sales rate only from when it arrives in Amazon and starts selling. So you don't have any problems like that. I mean, if you're familiar with other finance solutions, even Amazon financing, they'll give you $100,000 now, but they'll start taking it off from next month already. And in most cases, when you're manufacturing, you have to put down a deposit, and it's at least 3 to 4 months before you start selling the first unit. So if you had to pay back most of your loan by then, you didn't really get any added financing. You just postponed some of your cash flow. So that's something that in most cases even harms sellers, because now they find themselves committing to large purchase orders, not calculating the right cash flow of the financing they took, and finding themselves with not enough money to pay the manufacturer the date he needs to be paid. And then everything starts snowballing into a bad situation.
Yeah, I get that. And I borrowed a bunch of money off Amazon Finance in the past. And they're not the nicest people to borrow from, because immediately your money is reclaimed, as you said. So what kind of rates? I mean, how does it work? Is it like a flat percentage? Is it a monthly percentage? How do interest rates work on the money that people borrow from you?
It's not an interest. Like I said, we're partners. We act as a buyer's agent. So it's a fixed cost depending on the term we think it'll take to sell off the inventory. But it's anywhere between probably 7 to 12% on a term that's usually 4 to 6 months. And that's obviously on the part that we financed only. And in most cases, Amazon sellers hopefully should be making anywhere between 70 to 100% ROI on their cost of goods. So with us, they're going to make somewhere between 60 to 90% ROI on them, on the cost of goods that we paid for. So without even having to put their money on that. So that's the deal. That's how we built it. And I feel that that's the best way, because then you can buy as much as you need. We're your partner. We check that you're buying the right amounts. I mean, if you come to us, we've had situations where, great, you grew from 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. Now you want to bring 20,000 units, and we look at the category, and the entire category sells maybe 3,000 a month. And, so, hey, you're not going to take over the category as much as you think you're going to continue to grow. We look at all the parameters and we bring our experience into that. So we can help you out to create the right purchase orders, create the right amounts, split into smaller purchase orders. We don't believe in large purchase orders if you don't need them. At the end of the day, that's capital that's tied up in inventory that's just sitting there, expensive storage fees, wherever that inventory is, logistic costs. You want to try and be very efficient when it comes to your chain of logistics, and we're also here to help on that.
Yeah, I love it. You said that sellers are based all over the world. Is there any particular location of companies? Do they need a US entity? How does that work?
No, so we don't need a US entity, even though if you're selling in the US, in most cases, many sellers do have it. All we need is that the product is being sold in Europe or in the US at the moment. We don't, because our collateral is on the product and at the destination where it's being sold. So we don't really have any, your company can be anywhere in the world and your manufacturer can be anywhere in the world.
And is there any kind of time of year where you think people should really consider this? Because, we're coming up to June now. What time of year do you think people should be looking at funding and protecting out their inventory?
Yeah, well, in general, I think you should always be in contact with a funding partner just so that you have a relationship with them. It helps a lot when you need it for things to be available, and it gives you more security knowing that you have that option when you get stuck or when you need it. Obviously, for Q4, many steady brands might have a very steady revenue. Then in Q4, they need to bring triple, quadruple the amount, and that's where they have a lot more cash flow restraints. So we're great for even a one-time solution. If you have a PO you need right now just for Q4, we're there to help. We can do that. You don't have to work with us on all your POs. You don't have to work with us ongoing all the time. You can use us only when you need. And that's also obviously planning for Q4. If you have a seasonal product, you want to have enough inventory in stock. It really hurts to see that in November already, after Black Friday, you're almost out of inventory and you didn't enjoy the entire Christmas season. So here we're able to help you with that for sure.
So yeah, totally agreed there. So let's jump into our next part. We have a section we call the controversial take. So if do you have any debatable, controversial opinion related to Amazon or the e-commerce industry, or any kind of opinion you hold that you think everyone should share?
Well, first of all, I think that, I don't know, in the past there were a lot of videos where anyone could just bring a few $1,000s, find a product and start an Amazon business. And probably that worked for almost 20 to 30% at that time. I think today it's less than 0.5% that works for. So you really need to understand that when you're going into this business, you have to have the right amount of capital, plan it right, and also invest the time, take it seriously. It's starting a huge business. It's not a side hustle. I wouldn't do an Amazon business if you want it just as a side hustle. It's something that takes a lot of time and effort and risk in your investments. So you want to do it the right way. The other thing that I feel is very important, and here it's a controversial thing. When you're growing your business, when you're starting off, I feel profits are not the important thing. I mean, if we're selling 3,000 units a month and we're making $7 a unit, meaning $20,000, that's barely enough to cover our operational expenses, software, and living on, right? We want to get to sell 10,000, 30,000, 40,000 units a month. And therefore, in order to create growth, you have to invest. You have to invest in marketing. You have to invest in inventory. You have to invest in growing your catalog. It's risk, and you have to invest in growth. And I believe that when you come into this business, you want to have a plan where you want to be in 3 years, and you have to invest to get to that place. And if you're making $1 more or $1 less during the month on those 3,000 units, that's not what's going to make a difference. But when you get to the 40,000 units a month, then you can start tweaking your profitability. And anyway, you're going to have a lot more profitability in most cases, because when you're manufacturing that amount, your cost of goods will go down because you'll get better pricing from your supplier. Your chain of logistics per unit will go down substantially because you'll be sending full containers or larger shipments. Even your advertising at that time, in most cases, will be more efficient because you've already learned what keywords work, what don't. You already were able to get some organic real estate on Amazon. So all these things together will start making larger profits at a higher multiple at 40,000 units. And that's when you really start enjoying the income. So as long as you're trying to grow, as long as you're investing in growth, the bottom line is not what's important. It's creating revenue, it's creating growth, it's creating real estate on Amazon. Those are the important things, and that's how I run most of my businesses.
Great. Yeah, and we have a lot of established sellers who listen to this podcast. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think they'll get a lot of value out of that and focusing on growth over profitability until you get to a point where you can turn the dial and make a big difference in your life and life of your family. Awesome. Just to sum up the episode, I mean, I know we've dived deep into CapEc here, but I think the product is super interesting. And also, I mean, I'd like to personally thank Nadav and CapEc and Daniel as well for their support of Seller Candy, because the first Prosper show, I know you guys actually got us into the Prosper show, took care of us. So thanks so much for that. And thank you for being on the show. So if someone would like to reach out to you, like to figure out how they can work with CapEc, what can they do?
So go to our website, capec.io, fill out an application, or send us an email to sales@capec.io. Once you fill in that application, connect your store. It's a very fast process. Our sales team also will be glad to have a Zoom call with you to explain our process and everything and how we work. And then in most cases, once we do the first deal, we see that probably 60 to 70% of our customers are continued customers, continue to grow with us. And that's what we love to see. So we're here for you, and reach out and we'll be glad to give you an offer.
Awesome. Thanks, Nadav. So that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you to Nadav from CapEc for joining us. And we hope that tonight's insights and strategies are useful to all the people out there listening and watching wherever the platform may be. Wherever you are watching, please do like and rate the podcast. It really helps us grow, helps us get more impact and seen on different platforms. And do follow our social media pages for updates, behind the scenes videos, and any other outtakes that there are sometimes many of. None on this episode though, so that's great. Thank you for today's episode, and talk to you very, very soon.